You're listening to the MER-Mates podcast, the marine science research podcast.
Welcome to the second part of our Vivas special episode. As mentioned, all journeys must come to an end, and that includes the MER experience. In today's episode, we sit down with fellow students to reflect on the past 2 years, from heartwarming confessions to brutally honest opinions, and everything in between.
We get into their thoughts on the programme, their experiences, and the visions for the future. While many questions we ask are the same, the answers couldn't be more unique.
This special two-part episode marks the end of our journey and the conclusion of Season 1 of MER-Mates. So, let's set sail one last time, and remember, itxaso berriak ikusteko jaioak gara, also said as, we are born to discover new seas.
Who is Gemma Camacho Viteri? She is a very special guest that we have here in the programme. She is based in Guayaquil, Ecuador. Welcome, Gemma.
Hi.
Hello, Gemma, and welcome to the MER-Mates podcast. Tell us about your background, your studies.
Well, I did oceanography. Actually, oceanographic engineering, but I am really bad at the engineering part.
Oh, well.
So, yeah.
At least it wasn't civil engineering.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your background. Where did you study? Did you like it?
Yes, so it was 5 years because it was an engineering, and basically the 2 first years we did like basic engineering courses like physics, chemistry, a lot of maths, and I like maths. I don't really love chemistry nor physics, but it was okay. And then we start taking like more engineering courses and oceanographic courses, and you could either take like 2 paths, either go into the research area or go into more private sector and working like in dredging companies or, this type of coastal engineering.
Yeah, so you finish your bachelor and you decide to do MER. What were the reasons behind that?
Actually, I first heard about the Erasmus Mundus programs when I was like in the 3rd year of my career, because one actually was my statistics professor, and he was talking like about one of his ex-students and that he was like doing an Erasmus master and that he will recommend doing these masters for everyone because they are really nice. And then I went into the webpage and then I found the MER masters, and it was really nice because of the different areas it has. So it was not only like biological or not only oceanography. And at that time, I really didn't I really didn't know what I wanted to do, like after, like finishing my career and what area I liked the most. So I felt like this master's was like a good opportunity to actually discover what I actually like and what type of like research I would like to do.
Yeah, prolonging studies is always a good option.
It's always a good option.
And now that we are almost done,
Yeah.
is it worth it, the whole experience? Or
I think it's really worth it. I think the courses are really good, but I think probably all the students that been through like the masters of MER is that the best thing is about the people you meet. And in the beginning, because we started in the year when the masters was like 15 years or 10 years, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was the anniversary.
Yeah, so it was a really special week. It was really nice, and all of their experiences and the reviews, like from people that have done the masters, they were saying like, yeah, the people is amazing, and the people you meet, they become like your family, and it's actually true. So, yeah, I think beside the courses and the universities and the traveling, which is really nice, I think the nicest and the most rewarding thing is kind of like the experiences you go through by meeting like different people and cultures,
We've heard the best things, but Gemma, now it's time to criticize a little bit the master, and don't worry because no one will take you off your master thesis title. Do you consider that something could be improved in this program?
Yes. So I'm from Ecuador. And, well, you don't have the best passport if you're from Ecuador, you know? And it's very, very, very rough to get visas because the process overall, it's like very hard and you have to get so many documents and to apply for different visas. And I first went to England and then I went to Spain and then I went to Belgium and then I went back to England. So I had to get 4 different visas. So each semester I had to apply for a different visa. And it would be nice if at least someone could like guide you in this process, because the UK, it's very straightforward. So everything, like you have a web page and they tell you everything to do. But then like there is Spain and there's like more bureaucratic and you have some papers that you don't really know how to get and you have to do it on your own. So I think that's the most annoying part of the masters, actually, the fact that you have to get so many visas and you don't really have a guide to do it. And yeah, I think that can be proof. I think someone can like give a better guidance to do that. And I remember a girl from Brazil and she was like, you have to apply with time, because in like some years I think one student doesn't apply with time and then something happens, and I remember she saying like she will apply 6 months before her actual semester to start, and I was like, that's too early, but it's actually true. So you have to apply with time because in the process you discover how to do the things. So
Yeah.
I will say that's very rough and difficult and annoying mostly.
Well, changing the topic to something a little bit nicer, like a country that allows you to get visas more straightforward. That is the place where you did your last semester. England did it. Well, the UK.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about why you decided to return here? Was it because it was easier to get a visa, or because you actually did some proper science, which I think is the last bit?
Yeah, so every time I said I went back to Southampton, and everyone that has been in Southampton asked me like, why? Or like,
Why would you
looks at
return?
me- looks at me a little bit weirdly, like, why you choose to like go through that again? Because yeah, Southampton is not the most fun city in the UK, but the university is really good and really great, and that's why I decided. And since I discovered I want to do more like physical oceanography, I figured out that that was the place I wanted to go back. So they are really good at that, and also I like the environment. You have people from different places, so it's very diverse, and everyone is so nice there. So they are very kind and also very keen to help you. So I like that. So even though Southampton is not amazing, I feel like the university is pretty good, so it's worth doing it again, I will say.
So you are the second engineer that comes to these microphones. Can you give us some of the results you obtained during your master thesis?
I actually did something like more physical oceanography related, and I work with the upwelling system of the Iberian Peninsula, Galicia, and I work with a model, Nemo Medusa, and now sounds like I am presenting my results to you.
Yeah, again, I've already heard these results before because we were practicing.
But yeah, we discovered something fun, that even though like winds are the main driver of upwelling in this region, also the highline stratification, it's very important, and it decreases the intensity of upwelling. So I think that's one of the most significant results I can say. And well, it's very important because Galicia, it's very productive.
So, once the master's finished, what's it going to look like for Gemma?
For Hema, I when you don't know what to do, you have to keep studying.
Exactly. Prolong your studies. That is the best advice you could have given.
So I applied to a PhD and I got accepted. So I'm going to do that.
Congratulations. What is it about?
Thank you. It is also about physical oceanography. It is about the dynamics of water masses and mixing processes.
Yeah, stick to what you know.
Yeah.
Where is it?
It is in France, in Brest, in Bretagne. I don't know how to say it properly.
Oh la la.
You will learn.
Oui.
Anyways, Gemma, it was good to hear from you. Well, actually, no, before I close this, I have to ask you the question, sorry.
Yeah.
What advice would you give for future MER or marine-related master's students?
I will say that it is okay not to know what, like, if you have decided to do this master and you don't know what do you want to like do for the next years, it's okay. You can figure it out like through the masters. And well, I was like that kind of like in the beginning, because I really didn't want to know like in which area to like go and do research. So I tried to take some courses that were like out of what I wanted, and then I discovered things that I didn't want to do, and then I discovered things that were more interested. So I will say be open to options, because you don't know if you're actually interested or if you're good at something. So be more open to your options and try more things that what you know, because maybe you will like something that it's different from what you've been doing. And don't stress too much, I will say, and have fun. This master is really fun.
Wise words.
Wise words. Thank you, Gemma, for being here with us. Good luck in your PhD.
Merci.
Welcome back to the special episode on the Vivas Master Thesis presentations. Today we have with us Laure Sicard. She is based in Saint-Denis in the Reunion Island, so she's an island girl. Welcome, Laure.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Laure. First question, what is your background? Like, what are your studies?
So my background, I did my studies in the northeastern part of France. My background is geology, in particular engineering, and with a specialization in hydrogeology.
Hydrogeology, geology, engineering.
Exactly.
How does that fit in the master? And the question is, why did you choose this master?
So what happened is after my 4 years of studies in France and a really big part, 2 years in geology, I wanted to go back a bit closer to the ocean, also because I'm an island girl, as you said.
Exactly.
So I know that I was been very fascinated by the marine geology, and also I did a specialization in hydrogeology because I wanted to know like more about the flows and everything about the water movements, like the hydraulic. And what happened is like I had this presentation from a girl that has been doing this master actually 2 years ago, and she was from our school, and she presented everything, and I saw this opportunity first to travel because I wanted to go out a bit of the little town where I've been for 4 years.
Yes.
And also to discover more about oceanography, which was something I've always been fascinated by. And I took the step and I chose this master.
Nancy was the...
Nancy, yes.
And we have another engineer.
We've
in our
got
microphones.
Oh, who?
Well, yesterday...
Yeah, we had. I thought you meant
No.
one of us.
No.
I'm not the one.
Another one that's coming.
Yes.
What was your overall experience with this master?
So with this master, it was a lot of movements. Like moving every 6 months was, I think, the biggest experience I ever had in my life, to go to 3 different countries, travel with the same people, like discovering people from all over the world was amazing. Be able to hear lots of different languages, to develop my English in particular, because I mean, my English wasn't bad, but now is way better than before. As well, to have what I found amazing about this master is the fact that we move from universities to universities with different backgrounds and different specializations, which means that each university has its way to teach you the different fields. For example, I did chemistry in Bilbao, but in Southampton I did mostly physics and modeling. So it's more discovering the specialties of each country and their fields and the teachers and how it works.
So you say that you've developed your English, but you've also developed a really nice Spanish level.
Yes, as
Now,
well.
I've spoiled it really, but we want to know where did you spend your last semester and what did you do your thesis about?
So I decided to come back to the Basque Country because I really liked when I was in Plentzia. And I've been in ASTI, a partner which is in partnership with the Master MER, but in San Sebastian, most exactly in Pasaia. And yes, for 6 months I developed my Spanish, I should say. I really enjoyed to work in ASTI. I met lots of incredible people. And I really enjoyed my subject. I wanted to do something that was a mix between my background studies, so hydrogeology and the oceanography. And I found that the coastal engineering and estuaries would be very interesting for me. And that's why I chose in particular, ASTI Pasaia for this subject.
You improved your Spanish. Did you improve your Basque? A little bit.
Eskerrik asko.
But so you said that you wanted to link the master thesis with your background. What's your topic, or what did you work in?
So me, I did modeling in like a modelization of the Basque estuaries, but modelization of flooding. So I worked into inundations, which means that for my model, for example, I was using an hydrological equation. So something I've already seen in my background actually when I was doing engineering, but in rivers. It was very interesting for me to find it, but in estuaries this time.
And what estuaries have also higher risks in the future?
I mean, I can sell my map in the future of people that are going to live around Chinguji, for example. No, with the climate change and the sea level rise, many estuaries around the Basque Country are going to be a bit impacted. And Chinguji, I worked on Chiundi, and Chinguji is interesting because it's completely industrialized. You have seen the airport. In all the maps I had after the first and second scenario, the airport was already like flooded completely, almost. So that means that it's going to impact a lot, like the infrastructures around here. And because of the industrialization and everything, the high risk are more like into for the industries, for example. But I met someone from Irun. He was like he was working in ASTI as well, but in a internship. And I asked him actually a lot of questions about where he has been flooded all his life, for example, and explained me that his school, he was used to have his school completely flooded or around his house or stuff like this. So actually people are already used to it, which is fascinating.
Wow, well, it's interesting to see that the airport of San Sebastian is going to turn into the port of San Sebastian.
Exactly.
Well, what were some of the main challenges during your thesis? Because it can't be easy to do models, can it?
I mean, my main challenge, the first challenge I had was my supervisor haven't been here for months when I arrived. So it was kind of me, my model, and a manual. I never used physical models in my life before, and I had to compile it. So I had to understand how to compile a model myself. And for that, I had to read like 2-3 reports, 3 times the manual. I was completely lost. Then I had to understand how to use this model that no one in ASTI ever used in their life. So I was kind of very alone on that. I was like reading the manual like tons of time. I had to create all the files myself by using Python or just by writing by hand, which means that, for example, the point boundaries, I presented that point boundaries, it's point that I put each pixels, for example, in the river. They represent 2,000 or 3,000 points that I created thanks to Python automatically, kind of, but sometimes it wasn't working. So I needed to go pixel per pixel on the map and to take the location of the point and to write it myself. And I wrote like 20 different points that way.
So you found that with some challenges during the...
Yeah, many.
Maybe a tough question, but what's next after this master?
So I had the opportunity to be accepted in a European-funded PhD. I'm going to Zaragoza for 3 years. thanks to my supervisor, I had contacts in coastal engineering, and they introduced me to a program, a European program of PhDs.
Coastal engineering in Zaragoza.
Yes, so I'm gonna again.
It's inland for whoever doesn't know that.
Yeah, that's very funny. Many people laughed when I said like I'm gonna do coastal engineering in Zaragoza, in the desert. Yeah, it's very strange, I know, and I'm laughing myself because at the beginning I wanted to stay here, and I was a bit blocked by the Basque recommendations. I'm gonna create my own model this time, and it's still on estuaries and rivers.
Well, congratulations on that. You've dealt with a lot of things. You're gonna get a PhD, so we need some of your advice for future listeners.
Okay.
Sorry, pardon. We need some of your advice for future Marine or related master students.
Okay, about the PhD or to find work or?
You can more like master related.
People who want to apply for this.
Who wants to apply, but
Masters.
it's a free free answer.
Free answer, okay. Well, first, be ready to move every 6 months, which is something that is tough. To not maybe see your family for 1 year or maybe every 6 months. That depends from where you come from. You have also to be ready, you have to take into account that this master is not always easy. Some universities are harder than others, and because they have different scholar systems, you have to adapt a lot into the different countries. I know some people didn't like, for example, Bordeaux, because France is a very hard country where to live sometimes. And the university system is very different from what I've seen. Same for England. England is a very special country where to live as well. So it's just to be ready to have some cultural shock.
Well, Laure, thank you very much for being here with us. We've loved hearing about your experience, and we wish you the best for the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I were to tell you that our guest was born in water, you might think we'd be speaking to Nemo or to a mermaid. But in fact, we're speaking to Christine Tamara Barrow, based in Cape Town, South Africa. Welcome,
Woo!
Christine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yes, I was in fact born in water. I have pictures to prove it. Let's go.
I don't know if we can upload them.
You can email us if you want them.
No.
Thank you for your time, Christine, and we would like to know what is your background.
So I studied in Cape Town at the University of Cape Town, and it didn't start with the ocean, although that would have been a nicer story. I actually started with chemistry. But eventually, after 2 years, I found the ocean again. And so I studied marine biology and oceanography. And actually in South Africa, we have an undergraduate, but then we also have a 4th year that we call it honors. And that's when we actually write a thesis. And so that I did in oceanography. So I actually have more of a background in oceanography than marine biology. Yeah.
It's nice to hear that you came back to
Yeah.
the ocean and left the chemistry behind.
Yeah, no, thank goodness.
Now, I think it's got quite an easy explanation why you applied to this master. But what made you choose this one specifically out of what's out there, you know?
So actually, how I came across this program is that Cape Town, it's known for its marine studies, but its master's programs are sort of limited. It's either you study like a main thesis for 2 years, or you do courses, but none of it was sort of more conservation based. So then I decided, let's try overseas, but I needed funding. So I actually started by looking at funding programs, and I found out that France has good scholarships, and I attended some seminars, and they're like, here's a brochure for masters in English, and MER was one of them, and so I applied. I also actually applied for IMBRC, but yeah, I got into MER, got offered a scholarship, and I said, let's go. And so that's how I ended up here. And I've actually recommended it to a friend, and he's also doing it now.
Would you look at that?
Look at that.
Lucky as we got you instead of IMBRC.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I also applied for the IMBRC.
I also applied for the IMBSC.
But honestly, after like speaking to them, I think MER actually has more like choices and a more diversity of courses in some senses, broader ranges of topics, which is really cool.
So that was the next question. What is your overall experience in the MER Master?
I mean, I've had a fabulous time, minus the visa things. But no, overall, it really has been an incredible experience. Like, we really do have a huge range of courses that we can be a part of. And yeah, there's just so many things to choose from and so many different places and like things, places to go, people to meet. And yeah, I got to meet you guys and some other people on the podcast. And, you know, I'll see you guys around for couple of years.
Hopefully, yes.
Made good friends, learned a lot of cool things, and opened a lot of doors as well. So, no, happy to be here.
So, talking about opening doors, probably our audience knows it by now because we repeat it quite often. But the last semester, we get the choice to study wherever we want to. So, out of the whole availability of things, where did you go, and why?
So what I did is that I quite literally went to Google Scholar, typed in words of things that I liked, read some articles. I looked at the authors of the ones that I really liked, and I emailed them. And I emailed about 6 people, and 4 got back to me. 1 couldn't have me, but then there were actually 3 availabilities. And I ended up going to ISMA, which is the Institute of Marine Science, through the National Council of Research, ISMA CNR, which is based in Venice. And so that's where I carried out my thesis, which the topic was marine spatial planning and prioritizing for species on the move. So yeah, that's basically how I got there. And
so you went to the Carnival of Venice, no?
Yeah, I did.
Interesting.
Although it's very touristy during that time of year. So, and surprisingly, summer is not as busy. So if you actually want to go to Venice, August is your month because it's really quiet. Carnival is crazy.
I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
Well, it's quite also interesting that there was an actual research behind choosing this thesis, because if you think of Venice, you say, well, I'd go to Venice because it's Venice.
Yeah.
But no, it's because of the...
Yeah, so the Institute ISMA, they actually have branches in other areas in Italy, like there's Bologna, Naples, and I can't remember.
Other great Italian cities.
But the one in Venice is the head one, and they do a lot of other research, which is really cool. And I was also able to take part of seminars. I was part of a peer review research, so they really did open their arms to me. And it's also nice because there's also other students that come in for internships, so there's a lot of people coming and going and meeting new people from other places, which I enjoyed because I miss seeing my MER friends.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have people coming and going from different places, and that was really cool.
You had a great chance of saying MER-Mates there.
MER-Mates, yes, I did.
So you've given us a little bit of a glimpse of your thesis. Can you give us a bit more of a, summary?
I suppose I can. So I was basically looking in the Northeast Pacific Ocean, specifically with megafaunal species, and I was trying to identify conservation areas for them, but looking at it from a sort of climate change perspective. So looking at conservation areas now and then conservation areas in the future. But I was also looking at marine spatial planning, so that also takes into account human activities in the ocean, because humans are always going to be in the ocean, so have to account for that. And so I also looked at it when you add fisheries into it, and because you want to conserve areas that won't be too costly in terms of the fisheries. So you sort of add in that layer. And the outputs you get are different maps of conservation areas. But then we also looked at comparing these conservation areas, and what we mainly found was that the cost layer, so in our case fisheries, was a huge driver of this. So we saw our main findings was that into the future, if we want to make really conservation areas regarding climate change, we really also need to project human activities in the ocean and like fisheries, and like we really need to look at what's going to happen in the ocean into the future to then better conserve animals now and into the future.
So there needs to be a management, no, of the different uses of the ocean, or
Well, management, and it's because with marine spatial planning, it's more, you know, just giving people an idea of like a map and where places are. And then as a scientist, you know, we can tell people what to do, but it's up to them to then actually imply the management themselves and actually take it into account. Because, yeah, you know, we can tell people information, but it's like, you know, then we need people to then come together, have the conversations, then be like, okay, we can put wind farms here, we can do fishing here and conserve things there and make sure that everyone's happy. And yeah, hope that people stick to regulations because, you know, it's complicated.
Seems like a tricky matter.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that arise during your thesis? And how did you overcome them, if you did?
A good question. I think the first is actually just learning how to use the program itself, because I use a program called Prioritizer, which is a package in our studio. And it took me about a month to figure out how to set up the data in that program. So that was one of the big challenges, because my project is actually different from what we originally set out to do, and it's because it took me so long to figure out how to actually set up the data. But once we actually got there, you know, it was cool, and we found out this really cool implication of cost. But we were also supposed to look at like climate refugia and look at biodiversity from like a functional aspect, and you know, it was supposed to be a lot more, but we just ran out of time, like with anything. So I think that was quite challenging. And also marine spatial planning isn't, I think it's now offered in the MER program through the Azores University, but it was a whole new topic for me. So I had to read literature for the first like 1.5 to 2 months of my thesis, just to understand the general concept. So that was also a bit sort of exhausting, but yeah.
in this regard, the master thesis can serve as a tool to decide what you liked or your future path. So, what's the future for you, Christine?
Good question. No, I'm actually planning on publishing my thesis. There are a few edits and like updates I do need to make with regards to analysis and things like that, but we are looking to publish it. So that's sort of step one. And then I really enjoyed working with my supervisor, and so I'm hoping to continue, and also really enjoyed working in ISMA and Venice, and so I'm hoping to continue my work there, but with visa issues, and yeah, you never know what the future's going to hold, but that's the general plan for now, because I really do enjoy marine spatial planning, and also because I've done the sort of conservation side, because I've always liked like the human nature sort of combination, and so it sort of allows for that. And yeah, so that's where we're at.
Quite good.
Yeah.
Quickly, and our last question for this short interview is, after your experience, what advice would you give to a future MER student? You've probably already given some of it, since you've brought a fellow South African to it. Yeah.
I mean, what advice? Honestly, just have fun. I mean, you know, you need to study, but at the same time, I think one element of this program is that it is an international master's program. You know, get to know your classmates well, and like, you know, you never know like where that could end you. I mean, you know, I've met some incredible people now. Like one of my good friends might be doing her PhD in Mexico, so I'm like, oh, I'll go visit you. But I mean, it's also, you know, allows you the opportunity to travel to new places, make really good connections, and just like open a lot of doors about things you might not have known about before. And so I think it does just give you a big window of a lot of different things, and also the people that you meet along the way also open you to like new ideas and new concepts. And you know, I've learned so much the past 2 years, like both you know, in class, but also like life. I've learned a lot. So I think, yeah, I mean, advice, just go for it. Just make the most. Don't spend like every day studying inside. Like, you know, just enjoy where you are and make the most of it, because 2 years goes by really quickly. And yeah, just enjoy it.
Absolutely. We could record a whole episode with you, but unfortunately we'll run out of time.
Yeah.
So we wish you the best in the future.
Thank you.
Maybe by the time this episode is published, we could put a link to your paper,
Ooh,
hopefully.
Yes, crossing fingers.
And we hope to see you in Venice.
Well, thank you
We
for
want you
having me
there.
on MER-Mates. Excited to see what this has in store for the future as well.
Thank you for being here.
Thank
Thank you, Christine.
Welcome back to the MER-Vivas Awards. Now, well, not the awards actually, the thesis presentations. We have a special guest. She is based in Pacifica, California, United States. We have with us Christiana Wolf-Blake. Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, happy to be.
Thank you for the time, Christiana. First question that we make to everyone, what is your background?
So I studied ecology and evolutionary biology for my undergrad. I really love like the biological side of the ocean, ecosystem interactions.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're a person who has a very strong relationship with the ocean during your undergrads, during probably a lot of your hobbies, I believe. So what made you choose this master here out of all of the options you had?
Well, I knew, so after university, I got a job in biomedical research, and it just wasn't really my cup of tea. Like I mean, the work was fine, but it didn't excite me. So I figured I needed to do something to kind of break into a field that I was more passionate about. So I decided to go back for my master's, and I was kind of looking around, and I just didn't like the master's programs I was seeing in the US. They're really expensive.
Yeah,
And I didn't think it could really,
that fact.
yeah, I didn't think it could kind of suit what I was looking for. And then I had heard about a friend who found a master's in Europe, and I was like, oh, that's a really great idea. So I started looking, but I couldn't decide on a country. And so I literally Googled like best marine biology masters EU. And this was like the 4th or 5th link that came up. I was like, oh, this looks really cool. And I started just digging into the website, and it looked really fun, and everyone seemed really close. And so I just kind of applied, figured shot in the dark, it can't hurt, and got in. Seemed like a lot of fun. The classes were cool, got the chance to travel and study what I love. And so just kind of took the plunge.
4th or 5th. Oh, that's not bad at all. I didn't know that.
I think you answered the question, but what's your overall experience with this master?
I mean, I kind of went into it blind. I had never moved before this master's. Like I moved to uni, but it was only like not even an hour away from where I grew up. So it was really easy. The moving has, I think, genuinely been like the most difficult part, because, you know, you settle for like 5 months, you start to get comfortable, and then you have to pick up and move again. But it's been amazing experiencing all these different cultures and ecosystems and languages, and being with people from around the world. Like you're interacting with different cultures, not only in each country, but within each other. And again, like we all share passion for the ocean, but in different ways. And so like I'm learning from my friends as much as I'm learning from the classes. And I really think it's just an unrivaled experience.
So we had the pleasure to spend the first semester together in Southampton.
Yeah.
And in doing the master, we spent times at some defined locations, but at the end we have the choice to seek where we want to go and what to do. Now, where did you decide to go and why?
So I went back to Southampton.
Why? That is the question.
It's a really good question. You know, Southampton's not my favorite city, but the facility at University of Southampton, the National Oceanography Center, is just, it's an amazing environment. They've got state-of-the-art technology. They've got phenomenal professors, and quite honestly, like a good amount of money. Like they have good funding to do really, really good research. And so I emailed the director of the Southampton branch of the masters, and I was like, hey, I know you work with coral. I think they're really cool. I'd love to learn more about them and like do some research. And she sent me to one of her postdocs, and her postdoc was just like, Loretta was my supervisor. She was just so enthusiastic and just a joy to work with, that like her passion was infectious. And I just, after getting on one Zoom with her and seeing how she was so excited about the project and I would get to work with the corals, my mind was made up.
Shout out to Loreto.
Yeah, no, she's amazing.
Now, yeah, the National Oceanographic Centre is a fabulous place to go, and it honestly, it's a great choice to do your master thesis there about. You've given us a little bit of a glimpse. Could you develop what you did?
Yeah, so I studied the role of fluorescent proteins on coral symbiosis in reef-building corals. So basically, we wanted to see how corals react to different kinds of environmental stress, specifically light stress, and how that changed the amount of fluorescent proteins they produce, and then how that in turn affects their algal symbionts, because we've been noticing a lot of bleaching, and we need to know how to pull the corals back from that. So understanding the role of fluorescent proteins and like how they provide protection really helps us figure out what to do with climate change and everything else.
Definitely sounds cool, and probably there is a lot of work behind it. Do you have any challenges? Or did you have any challenges during the procedure?
Yeah, I mean, fluorescent proteins have so many different roles that studying them can take you in so many different directions. So we kind of went into it with an idea of what we were going to do, and then we had to kind of like amend it, which is very common in research, I'm aware, but some of the tools we expected weren't available. And then one of the techniques that we thought was going to work really well ended up not working. And I mean, all in all, like the lab really supported it, and I think it ended up being quite a good research topic, and I'm quite happy with the results. But for me personally, I hate data. Like I absolutely hate it, which sucks as a scientist because you need data always.
You're not the only one.
Yeah, no, it's rough. But I mean, having a good team around you to kind of support you on the parts that you hate really makes or breaks the project.
You did a fantastic thesis presentation. I could only see half of it online because of the work or whatever, and you impressed the jury. But impress us. What is the next step for you, Christiana? What is the future looking like for you?
So right now I have a job in the UK. I'm going to be moving down to Bournemouth. I'm going to be training in taxonomy. So this company, it's a small company. Right now it's just going to be the owner and myself.
Wow.
Yeah. She's had quite a few employees over the years, but it's always been quite small. So it'll be a really good opportunity to like get mentorship in addition to professional experience. But yeah, she processes soil samples that are sent to her by universities and NGOs and governments that need to understand the environment before they can build or work with it, right? So yeah, I've always had an interest in taxonomy, but I'm not sure I want to dedicate, 3 to 4 years for a PhD on it. So I figured getting some professional experience would be kind of a good break from research and make sure I know what I'm passionate about before I go back in for a PhD.
So it's not research, it's more like a private company or...
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Well, can I ask what sort of taxonomy is it? Is it like microbial taxonomy?
No, it's not. I mean, it's classified as macrofauna, but it's not like whales and dolphins, right? Like it's the things that live in soil. So it's going to be annelids and mollusks and crustaceans. Like, so it's big enough that you can see it. We have a microscope just so we can get, the finer details to identify the species. But ultimately, like if you're sifting through the soil, you will be able to see these animals.
Well, to finish, we can see your passion about the ocean and in general. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions for future potential students?
I mean, for me, I just got involved with things that allowed me to spend more time in and around the ocean, and it kind of opened doors for me. So in my hometown of Pacifica, we do a lot of like beach cleanups. I would get involved with some of those. I spend a lot of time in the water, surfing, scuba diving, and you just meet other people that love the ocean and just kind of follow their advice, ask lots of questions, and just do what sounds fun. Because I mean, that's ultimately what led me to this master's, right? Follow your passions.
I think that's some great advice. Now, we wish you the best of luck back there in Bournemouth, and we hope that you enjoy your job.
Thank you.
It was great hearing your experience and what you did, and it was a pleasure having you in the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you,
to be
Christina.
here.
And with that, we've reached the end of the season. It's been a long but an incredibly rewarding journey, from the very first idea to these final interviews. We would like to take a moment to thank all the amazing people who made this project possible. First, a big shout out to all our MER-Mates and everyone at the Plentzia Marine Station who supported us along the way. A special thanks to Belén for all her ideas and advice, and to Carlos for his tireless help. And of course, a huge thank you and congratulations to Sam. At first, I might have thought of this project as a crazy idea, even make fun of him along the way. But here we are, not only with a finished season, but having grown as individuals in the process. So once again, thank you all for your incredible support. Eskerrik asko, and this is all, folks.
As Xavi mentioned, it's time for us to say goodbye. But before we go, we want to take a moment to thank you. Yes, you. You've taken the time to listen to this amateur creation, and we truly hope you've enjoyed it. None of this would have any meaning without you on the other end, learning and engaging with what we've put together. For us, this journey has been full of valuable lessons, and while our part may be over, the project continues. Are you enrolled in the MER-Masters program? Will you be spending your second semester in Plentzia? If so, why not pick up where we left off? This is a fantastic opportunity to keep spreading science, and this podcast isn't just for you to listen to, it's yours to take over and make your own. And with that, we bid you farewell. Thanks again for being part of this, and goodbye, MER-Mates.